Recording in progress.
All good? All right. Good evening, everybody. We'll call this meeting of the Buckfield Select Board to order for October 1st, 2024 at 6:31 p.m. We do have a quorum. Old business. Happy birthday to Cameron. Your old business. You call me old? Yeah. Okay. You like how I work that in? I'm older. Solar farm ordinance discussion. Yes, Sandra.
I'd like to make a motion that we direct the soon to be fully staffed planning board with drafting it's the word moratorium that I want.
That's the plan that you would like.
Moratorium on solar farm development.
I'll second that. Further discussion? Yes.
So after reading all of the material that AvCog and our town manager gathered together, as well as talking to some folks who have done their own personal research on solar farms and what they may or may want to do in the future for themselves, it makes sense to me that as a town, we make sure that the parameters are in place, that things are done safely and with a look ahead to the future, what will happen at the end of the useful life of this equipment, and making sure that it doesn't negatively impact farming or the water sources in Buckfield. So I think all of those things need to be put in place. There are many other towns who have done the work. And so I think very much the planning board could look at what they've done and put that together, and that then we as a town need to come together and citizens should have their input and look at what's worked for other towns and put together a plan that best serves Buckfield.
Agreed. Yes, Vivian?
I'm unclear. You want the first step to be that the planning board write the moratorium?
Yes.
I'm unclear.
The idea being, at the last meeting, we talked about this, that we just put a stay in place.
Yeah.
For 4 months, 6 months. I think that would be something the planning board could discuss. But it looks like best practice has been for the planning board to draft this moratorium, and then we work on an ordinance, which then would go to vote.
And so I don't know that the planning board has the authority. I think only the select board has the authority to write the moratorium and then have that, I believe, approved by the voters. And then usually I think it's 90 days, and then we get a 180-day extension without having to go to the voters. Am I making sense? I think the planning board could do all the research and draft an ordinance and have it reviewed, legally reviewed by the town lawyer, and maybe have that ready by June. I don't know how fast the board can look at that. But we would do our best if if there's a deadline involved with like 90 days versus 90 days plus 180, we might need that extra time. But I don't know if those, I would have to check to see, or maybe Cameron knows. I think the select board specifically says, we're gonna put a moratorium in place.
How has this been handled in other towns? So we can,
I could be wrong, but a moratorium in itself is an ordinance. Is my understanding, and the only authority to put into place an ordinance, a moratorium ordinance would be the voters. So you'd have to have a special town meeting to approve whatever moratorium whoever comes up with.
so should the select board drop this moratorium or should the planning board, what has been,
Either way, it has to go to the voter, right? So,
I mean, I would send it, I mean, this is just my opinion, I would send it to the planning board if if they come back and say. We'll work on the ordinance, you draft the moratorium, then fine, but I mean, there's some pretty good examples in what was given to us. By Avcog that, you know, whomever drafts it up could probably do it relatively quickly. It's just a matter of agreeing on the time frame. I think the reason you want to send it to them is because they're gonna be the ones that are gonna determine how long they think it's gonna take them to put that ordinance together and have it ready to go to the voters. That's.
mhm.
I was just thinking the more.
Yep.
Okay, but I have no problem. Drafting a moratorium based on ordinance.
See, that's,
Yes, Viv?
so that's a good clarification, because this is new to me, I didn't know that. I'm just thinking about time wise. I think it's already on the calendar to have a planning board meeting on the 23rd. It seemed to me that there was. That we're an open book right now, we're vulnerable right now. And if we wait 3 weeks plus 2 more weeks, that's 5 weeks before the board even has a meeting, let alone a special town meeting that's approved to have the moratorium by the town. So the more vulnerable we are, if that's the correct word, I'm not sure. Then I say the board could easily tonight do the moratorium tonight and get the ball rolling so that we have something to work with, and we go with the 90-day moratorium, the basic channel 90 days. If that's what the board wants.
Yes.
I was just gonna say, Alcott must give you examples of moratoriums that people have written, it's pretty standard, I think. So just plug in the dates is.
I can certainly do it, but in all the reading that I did, many of. The moratoriums came from the planning board, so that's why I was thinking, but I have no problem if the planning board says, no.
No, yeah, it's just, I don't know how. Planning board would probably do is just look at examples from other towns, what's worked and change the dates that you guys want.
Yeah.
And I'm more concerned about the timeline and whether we are or are not vulnerable. Because my understanding is right now, no person said they're significant, but if we wait 30 to 60 days just to get a moratorium, that's a wide window. And anything could happen before we even had a chance to research or do anything.
Yes, Sandra?
So I'd like to amend my motion that that the select board. Draft a moratorium. To be ready for the next select board meeting. At which time we'd look at setting a date for a special town meeting. Second.
Discussion. All right, all those in favor, Bob, aye?
Say hi.
Peter, I.
Sandra, I. So,
So,
just for clarification,
yes,
um. I'll put that together and send it out for people to look at and edit. And we'll have, a couple choices of date ranges.
Yep.
And then we can
yep,
decide on that. at
Do
the
it
next
there.
meeting.
yep, works for me.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fire department billing discussion. Let's see. Yes,
Maybe Cameron for this. I need some clarification as to what we need to put in place.
Mhm.
If it is decided that the board wants to move forward. If it's we do it with a policy.
right. Yeah, and I'm not positive. He sent us a bunch of examples.
I know other towns that, from what I've read, from what I've read there, I think in some towns it's a policy, in other towns it was an ordinance.
Yep.
Um,
Fire chief might have some.
I
help.
don't have a lot of it, but I did bring it to him and cost me time with me, this is Gerald. He's, if you got questions, he's the one taking the guy.
do you know for most towns, is it a policy or an ordinance?
When we started, most were an ordinance. Found the last couple of years, whatever, the Northland policy works almost as well with insurance companies, body covering as an ordinance. And much easier with, and I would go and all that. So it really depends on the town. Some just said, no, we're gonna have an on one picture, the voters have an ordinance. Several about, I said, no, the policy is fine, and that works.
This is what you sent out, correct, Cameron?
Yeah, it was in the meeting.
Yeah, I read that, thank you. Do you? Moving, if it's decided to move forward with adopting the spilling ordinance or policy,
Were you asking me?
yes,
Sorry.
you know which, do you know which it has to be or what other?
I don't see why it can't be a policy. The rescue billing is, I believe, a policy, not an ordinance.
Right. It's. The money recouped couldn't be used without. The,
Correct, in order for it to cover anything other than coming in as revenue
right,
and then going to fund balance, it would have to be written into an ordinance for it to do that. But to begin doing it, you would need. If you want to do it before you have an ordinance, you'd have to have a policy in place to outline. What you expect the billing company to do.
so we could begin this process with a policy. And then look at developing an ordinance that would include how that money is to be used.
Correct.
Michelle, yeah.
Can I talk?
Yes,
Okay, and then you can, from what I read, I may be wrong, but I thought it had to be an ordinance to have that. In the town, that cost recovery. At state of Maine, maybe I'm wrong. State law.
I can check the legal.
Or the
I wish we do.
In this article you attached says that a little more just as policy to do it. But I mean, yeah, it's a double check.
Yeah, that's,
yep,
there's a lot of towns are, all that, and I've never seen anything where. Town has to have an ordinance, it's been more of a personal, so like what's that in Hollis, is. This week, they're gonna do it, just like you said, start with a policy, but in the spring. No, what? An ordinance does. I guess insurance companies, the way they look at it, a little bit stronger
Yeah.
than a policy. But we've been collecting on both.
Yep. What are your collections like? It's like,
Ours, each section's different
yeah,
based on that. Do you have a fee schedule set yet for this? It's not finalized yet, but we're working. Yeah, that's another thing, you need to have a fee schedule and then walls together.
Do you need percentage recovered?
yeah. But,
Probably, I would say around 55-60%.
yep,
Some insurance companies just won't do it. Progressive. Yeah, for the first few years, we're doing very well. We collected from that. All of a sudden, they just decided to stop. And that was a big chunk. It's a lot of people made it progressive.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't have the money to fight them because of, main statute is the towns can charge for those.
Yeah.
great.
Those charges. But and then right all was there is excellent. It's quite about half or so. But a lot of times they'll negotiate back and forth a bit and stuff that they will pay. Some have a set. But it's money that's there. And we do it on a commission basis, so there's no cost to the towns, no setup fees.
Yeah, sounds a lot like medical billing then. I mean, it's pretty,
So, it's a different animal,
Yeah.
it's not regulated as much as, so the insurance companies can get around things.
yep,
Less. Medical, but that's an issue too, and we do medical still down the road.
yes, Andre?
So kind of jumping to the question answer session.
Yeah.
You're the only company currently available to contract with for this service, correct?
In Maine, there are a couple others, I think there's one in New York, I believe, California, as. But I kind of handle the sales end of, meeting with towns. I've spent a couple times and had someone else doing it out of state. But
And so as I was trying to understand all of the fine print of the contract, it appeared to me that so the company takes or charges the 25% of the amount recovered, but then it also talked about any and all other fees also come out of, so would that include any kind of research time or postage or what?
yeah, that would be the only thing, like if say. Insurance company won't pay. Yeah, it depends on the town. Some will say want us to still bill the out of town driver, usually, non-resident. If we do that, we'll do 3 mailings. The last one, I think, registered letter. That's the Chinese talking.
Okay.
Very easy.
Okay.
And really, and that's as far as we go. We're not a collection agency, so we just. If you want us to do that, and sometimes you say no, they're not paying, insurance company won't pay, then let it go, and you say yes, bill the. The person, but if they're not gonna pay us, we send it back to you, and you can decide if you wanna. Go ahead.
Yes,
And I would suggest that if we do move forward with this, whether it be policy or ordinance, in looking what other towns have done. I don't have the sentence here in front of me, but essentially it stated that no resident of the town of Buckfield would receive a bill for any, okay. No resident shall be responsible for any denied or reduced amount of payment from an insurance claim for fire department responses. So if a bill went out and or all of it was denied by the insurance company, no Buckfield resident would then receive a bill. Somebody from out of town, depending on what. Somebody who does something foolish. Makes their own choices and it creates hours and hours of work for the fire department and. We may want to send them a bill,
Mhm.
but. No taxpayer.
Right.
Would receive a bill for services.
Yes,
The only thing we recommend on that is don't put that in the ordinance.
Yeah.
The policy. We can have that as an agreement between us, but insurance companies see that you're not paying, then they let, oftentimes I say, well, then we don't have to pay either,
right,
right, for the others. So, but I think you use me first, right, for reporting, so when he puts a report in. We go in and get, every 4 days a week to collect what are marked to handle those reports. On what is marked ready to bill, so he can control it. It's a resident, whatever, he doesn't mark it, we do not touch it.
I
It's
see.
a secret.
Mm.
However, it would be best served for the process, but as I read, all of these examples was. Valid names. I just think it would be important for members of our community. To know, without a shadow of a doubt. You're not getting a bill from this, that's not, unless. There are reparations, the courts are legally, they're responsible for that.
I don't feel comfortable saying that a resident is not gonna get, say, for example, this question. Say I go to Bob's house, I don't know, 30 times because he's burning. Beds, mattresses, furniture, an old house that needs to be properly disposed of. We go there once, Bob fills our permit, once a day, once a week, once a day, every day of the week. I don't feel it's fair for Cameron, Azalea, Sandra, Peter, Vivian. To keep on paying for us to respond to these places when you're gonna continue having this same issue.
What do we do now? If somebody is doing something, it sounds to me like that, what he's doing is illegal,
It is,
so what would we do currently?
we send a force ranger. And the force ranger. What hurts them? When you hit a pothole, right? Force ranger, something, and I'm saying that it hurts, I don't care if it's $4 or $5. The force ranger goes and the fire department goes, if you're gonna send two different types of bills, they're probably gonna settle on. If you ever go to court, normally they take a settlement on one or two. Then 9 times out of 10, they're probably not gonna settle on ours, because ours is gonna get a lot. Force ranger, so that's what goes back to the state. So there are stipulations where I don't feel comfortable, I don't wanna say I don't want to bill a resident, I don't want to bill a resident. I mean, I'm a resident too. But I also don't feel that it's fair for everyone in this room to continue going to places where they're continuing to break the law and it's just continuing to happen. So if you can maybe hit it in the pocketbook once or twice, it's not fair to them. They do pay us to respond, I understand that, but maybe they'll hesitate to do it next.
Right, and issues of negligence. Right, so. Should you rely on your fire department to clean your chimney annually when it's catches on fire?
No,
No, you should clean your chimney, right? There should be some proactive. Right?
There's
Yes,
there's a lot of language that covers a lot of that. I
Is there?
think that I 100% agree with you, but there's a slippery slope of who's the one that decides. We're gonna bill you because we've had enough of you. We're not gonna bill you because we haven't had enough yet. And so in that way, there needs to be language and that language
Mhm.
should be decided upon by the residents.
I agree.
And so until there's that specific resident, that we have an ordinance in place. That is specific, what we need to say to people is neither the fire department nor the select board are going to send you a bill. Because people have decided how that is. They send insurance companies bills.
Yeah, and that's it, we're not sending your insurance. Fire stuff, I don't really know how that works. I know fire policies don't typically pay out, from what I understand, don't typically pay out. Unless it's chimney fire, sometimes most homeowners insurance companies have $1,000 policy written into their insurance policy. Sometimes we collect on it, sometimes we don't. I'm not gonna say, say my house burns down. I can't send myself a bill because I'm sorry, that's bad. Of course, all right, but the regular law, yes, it should be. Well, so Vivian's house burns out. I can't send her a bill because we're not, that's not what we're here. We're here for the car accident parts, the chimney fires, just to help recoup some costs that were part of cost money. I understand that, and we're just trying to help out taxpayers, that's what we're trying. And I don't wanna send you a bill, we'll send your insurance bill. You're already paying your insurance deductible.
Right, so one of the issues with medical billing, for instance, is insurance companies, and you referenced it, will tell you if you're gonna bill, you have to bill everybody. Right, because they're gonna want your best price. If your best price is zero. Now, that doesn't mean you can't bill for denial, right? Essentially, you're saying we have, either we know it's not gonna be paid, or the amount beyond what your insurance would pay would be gone. And they're usually pretty okay with that. And I assume it's a similar situation with this. Yeah. So beyond your insurance would just kind of,
But it still gives us the option to send it.
right,
It depends on the cost.
right.
I mean,
And then-
and I think what we were getting at is, say we respond to, say a little lumber has 15 alarms in 1 year. And you say you can make it you respond 3 times within a month, maybe you can send them a small bill fee or whatever for the response for not taking care of their end of the alarm. Because a lot of times, if the alarm's going off in these buildings, it is a maintenance issue that they were used to. And I'm not saying low lumber is never had issues, but we're just using them
Yeah,
for, so.
But to begin with, if we put something together that allows the town, which seems to be standard practice in many other towns in Maine right now, to recoup money that is there.
yeah. Yep, that makes sense to me. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, but yes, Kim, sorry.
Oh, you asked a question earlier, so I was just gonna hit on it. You asked what's the current practice on nuisance calls? So if the DA pursues charges and goes after restitution, occasionally we'll get a check. In the 3 years I've been here, we got a check for, was it $50 or $100 for a call that you did 3 years ago? So that's the current practices. If the district attorney pursues charges, typically Adam will provide run sheets so that they have the information as to what was utilized, and then they'll go after it. And typically they get negotiated down to next to nothing, and you end up with. So I just wanted to hit off what you asked.
But let's say you have a nuisance call, whatever it is,
Right.
that happens a lot, right? And now you're hitting on their insurance. Eventually that's gonna come back and say, maybe you should clean your chimney. Right? But that's not on us, that's just how it goes.
Mhm.
Yes, Michelle?
Has anybody thought about the possibility that our insurance rates as homeowners would go up because of this? If our town institutes policy, I'm just putting that out there, because you may be saying, you're saving the taxpayers. Because the individual's getting billed, but sometimes the insurance companies know that this is your thing, like if I'm more than so many feet away from a fire extinguisher, fire hydrant, my insurance is more expensive.
Mhm.
So that's another thought, and probably another little bit of research I would do on that before it would. And also, policies are not enforceable, but commences are. So I would definitely, if you're gonna do something like that, then you will.
Yep.
That way, and then have steps to like the nuisance guy, whatever. If you have to keep going to their house for the same stupid stuff, you would think that you would no longer be able to have a burn permit at all. And then there would be state charges where, okay, you're getting a fine of $1,500, the next time you're doing some jail time. But I mean, I'm scared, I will never burn without a permit, so I don't know why these people think they can risk it like that, because I thought. Your ability to burn was taken away from you, and then you were fined, and then there was jail time. So I don't know why. That isn't followed, enforced, and then make sure it's something that's enforceable. When, you know, like, okay, if this person keeps doing this. Step A, this, step B, C. But I would hate to see the towns, you know, like our homeowners insurance go up, even, you know, if that's a thing that they do, I would just like to know that information.
I know this is pretty common in Maine now. There's many towns going to it, and I assume our homeowners insurance is based on the ISO rating, and you know, it's not necessarily the fact that we bill; it's our threat level, I guess. Right? Does that make? Yeah, yeah. I hear where you're coming from. So there's certainly something to look at to be sure of. Yeah. Yes, sir.
And many policies have that range of that, a certain amount, $500 or $1,000 will go to the fire department.
Mhm.
So it's not like an extra charge that's gonna affect their, they have a claim, same with vehicle license, they have a claim. And again, 500 or 1,000, it goes to the fire department, that's not gonna affect their rates. That's it's affecting their.
Yeah, they're expecting it because in addition to the fire department rate, you're gonna pay for the tow truck, storage fees, rental car, right?
Right.
It's all kind of, yes, Sandra.
So as I look at some of these examples, what we're talking about is not billing for a house fire.
Well, I know that.
But scene and safe, the big ones, I think, scene and safety control at traffic accidents. And then things with assisting rescue with extrication or so that would all come under either your automobile or your
Yep.
So nothing, the nuisance calls he was talking about will not come under homeowners insurance.
That would, so I'm sorry, I may be misspoke. So the calls where we repeat offenders are, it would be like. The bill, I don't be talking about bill price, that would go to the resident. Like Bill said, we can't, so you pay it, but we can send you the bill with the intent of you hopefully paying. Unless we decide to send you, the town decides to send you the collections to try to recruit them.
Yes, Vivian?
Earlier, there was something that you said that made me think, well, what? If you have a nuisance call and a nuisance call and a nuisance call that's same place and they don't have insurance, what happens?
Well, I mean,
You said
yeah,
In that situation, otherwise this. Really makes no
The
sense.
resident?
You go down,
I'm gonna.
yeah, we don't want those.
Right. And if the town decides to, we'll say we go to your house again, I don't know, 30 times. And we're not billing your insurance because we can't bill your insurance because it's not the house issue, it's person. That's all, so, okay, so we're gonna send you a bill, you choose not to pay it, okay, then now the town's gonna decide. Well, are we going to drop this right here, or if you're gonna continue burning illegally, is the town gonna pursue you in court, collections or whatever it is?
So would the then,
That would be the policy or whatever the town decides.
another question, would the town have the authority to put a lien on your house if you didn't pay your bill? Would the town go that?
that would need to be part of the board.
Okay,
Where this originated from is, it was an article in the newspaper, and we have Turner and Livermore Falls and towns that are bringing in thousands of dollars of revenue through insurance companies and
Mhm.
that at some level we would be negligent not to research this. Because if there's money available to come into the town to cover.
Mhm.
So we're at the place now of just, do we want to move ahead with looking to do this, or do we want to scrap the whole thing? And it makes sense to me that we do our research and look at moving ahead with this.
Yeah.
What it will look like, I don't know, and ultimately that should be up to the residents of the town.
Is there a way to get the actual numbers from these towns that are saying they have money coming in from it? Like, cause I mean, that must be public information.
I don't know.
I can't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Give it
I
a,
assume it would be followable from any town that has that information. Can I?
yes,
So I think we're focusing a lot on the, you know, the homeowners, the house fires, this, that, and the other thing. I think the original, the majority of the intent on this was the 4-5 hours of doing traffic control on Streaky Mountain because tractor trailer truck drivers blocked off the entire road for hours on end, and law enforcement isn't doing the traffic control, we are. And that costs resource, correct, but what we're trying to recoup that from those situations so that it doesn't fall on. If a tractor trailer truck jackknifes up past the Paris line and our guys are standing here blocking off Streaky Mountain for 6 hours. And we can recoup some of that funding from that insurance company. That benefits the taxpayers of Buckfield because that's the situation, that's the intent of the majority of this is to focus on those situations. The truck driver that from out of town that cracked into a telephone pole that blocks off the road and we're sitting there waiting for CMP to show up and we're paying guys and running trucks. That is the big scope of this, and I think we're just focusing a lot on
right.
the fire side of it and not the.
We're not looking for this to be a punitive thing.
No,
If you cause too many problems, then you're gonna get a bill. It's.
And through the ordinance process, if that's the route that you took, that would go into developing that ordinance, which then would. Take a lot more time and get more public input, and you'd have those public hearings, and inevitably it'd be up to the voters if you went with an ordinance side of it, if you did it as a policy. But again, I think 95% of this focus is on what I was just talking.
yeah,
Yes.
yes,
Definitely right, and that's what we do mainly is vehicle accidents.
Yep.
Power lines down on
Mhm.
bad storms, okay. And all, but as far as how we do very few of that, it's more. And if he asks the, you know, you can call it. Ask the homeowner to get a policy, you might check and see if there's a little bit different about it happening. It's, I'm not gonna go after something, it's not. But it is the vehicle, and that's what we can. Because like those truck accidents, they sometimes can add up, you know, $5,000, you add them up to 20. And the commercial trucks are companies are very good about. Yes.
yes,
And we
Yeah.
get a ton of them.
yeah, we do.
That's it. So.
And it can be out of town, we can be called, it's mutual aid.
Yep.
For these kinds of things, so it's not always standing guard at Street Kid, it might be out on Route 4, it might be.
Shutting before down the turner.
And you might have a situation where an out of town service would bill to come here, bill that person's, so they've come to our town to cover and now they're billing. But they bill that insurance company. And we're not getting anything. So.
Like starting this conversation, like
Yeah,
that bothered me a little bit.
But if
yes,
you're driving that tractor trailer that goes off of, you're driving the thing that goes on the Street Kid. And they send your insurance company a bill, and the insurance company says we're only paying 80% of that.
Yeah.
The town of Buckfield is not going to bill a resident for the other 20%.
Yeah.
If you live in New Hampshire, we might send you that bill, because that's, but not the taxpayers of Buckfield, so that's what that piece, I think I said that.
Yeah,
So how do we want to develop this? Do we want to draft something or do we want to move forward with a? Yep. Yes,
I just suggest maybe we start off by maybe following something like, I think what Augusta has. It's pretty solid policy. And that maybe we could break that down. I mean, we can look at all, I think I gave you 4 or 5 different examples. Maybe we like something for this one. This one, we can put it in here, but I think Augusta Fire's policy is thorough, exactly something that we should look at. But, I mean,
I read through it.
it's not,
It was good. Yeah.
And they're one of the better departments we collect on, Augusta Water Bills.
Yep.
First, their policy works.
Yep. And there's a policy, not an ordinance. Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was a town that I showed you really hard. It started with me.
where we want our.
Holland.
That's where I suppose.
But at this point, I think. Do we want to? We say that this is an ordinance we would like to put before the voters in June. And wait until that point to look at beginning this process. Or. Because quite frankly, or somebody else has the time to write this. I'm not going to volunteer for this one for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So.
Items that Howland, Parkland.
Yes, the city of Augusta, it's a fire and rescue cost recovery ordinance.
Yeah.
Those are very, it says not, but are not limited to, but that's. Those are the specific things that I was talking about.
Oh, yeah, so they. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Same thing, water bills, a public safety ordinance. These are very involved and very clear.
Here's a question, does it make sense to put a policy in place till the town meeting comes, and then if we like what's going on with the information we're getting, and then maybe have an ordinance ready to go, if that's the route we want to take? But we can gain some info of what's happening and stuff like that. This bucket, we're not following I guess, we'll know a little more with a little bit more time, instead of putting an ordinance in, and let's just scrap it. I think if we have a policy in place and we like what's going, then create an ordinance and have it in place if that's the way.
Once you send it us.
The copy of that wasn't included in the packet, I sent you, so.
Well, that's what I was wondering too. I mean, the policy you can kind of.
what do you do with the revenue if you have a policy without? I mean, if money actually came in, where would you put it? Does there have to be something stated in our town meeting that says the money has to be? Or do you just put it in the general until we have an ordinance to say how it's spent?
Any revenues that come in would go to the fund balance, which would be stated in the policy for transparency, but any funds that come in would go into that
So,
general fund, and it's up to the voters to decide how that money is spent.
right, so the only thing about a policy first and then ordinance, what if the town doesn't wanna do this? You just scrap it, you just start and then scrap it? Or you continue with the policy even though the voters voted the ordinance out? If you start with a policy now, like Adam said. And you start billing and you're receiving revenue, and then the town says, no, we don't wanna do this, because they could happen. And they deny the ordinance, you just stop, or you continue on with the policy.
If the town says no, then we don't do it.
Okay, so that's why I'm asking, is it,
Yeah,
I mean, should you start before the town says yes or no? That's the question.
I appreciate the question. There's another way to say that same thing. If you put the policy in first. And then put the ordinance to kind of. Would you still continue the policy?
That's that, that's what I asked.
Oh,
And the answer is, yeah.
gotcha.
yes, Adam?
So I actually have a question. And this has nothing to do with our policies or knowing anything. We're gonna refer to the power thing from Canada and Massachusetts. The voters voted down the ordinance to cancel the power lines, but you drive through, they're still putting power lines. Is that because, and I don't know, it's like because they had ordinance and policy written, I mean, how do we figure out exactly which way is this? I mean, yes, I guess the town is the best way to figure out what the town wants to do,
Mhm.
but as we all know, town meeting, we have, I wish there was more of those,
Right,
it shouldn't be just 4 or 5 people, it should be the whole town that understand that.
If it's an ordinance, it's the town vote, like we vote, and essentially it gets ready for June with everything else.
yep,
It would be, I mean, we can only get 100 and something people, that's the way it is, unfortunately.
yes, Sandra?
So when you ask that question about the ordinance and would you keep going or would you not keep going? I think we're able to just, this group is able to say, no, we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because this board is only interested in doing what the community wants done. I suppose there could be a board that wanted to
And that's
get into,
another problem I have with policy is sometimes when new selectmen come in, they just change it. You know what I mean? And to me, I just, when it comes to something like that, I mean, it's not like how many members are on the planning board. It's,
Right,
something more important than that. So that's why I said an ordinance would be, in my opinion, would be the way.
and I think the question is, do we want to try to start recouping money now or not? And that's what's driving, do we want to start doing this? And in order to do that, we would have to put together a policy.
And also enacting it as a policy and getting a start on it before an ordinance would give us time to see if there are any unintended repercussions of taking that course of action before we put it to a vote or, have people vote on it.
yes, Kim?
And to spin off that too, any money that, if that's the direction the board went, any money that was raised through that, like you said, it would go to fund balance because none of this money was projected when this budget was voted on last year. So all of that money would have to go to fund balance and it can't be spent on anything for that first initial period anyways.
Right.
So perhaps we look at drafting an abbreviated policy similar to the name of the town.
Howland.
Howland.
Yeah.
And then we schedule. We could make it a public hearing, we could make it a workshop, we could just
Yep.
publish that we're looking for public input.
Mhm.
Before deciding on whether or not to enact that policy.
Yep.
And make the decision based on the input that we get
Right,
from the community. And then if wanted to broaden it to other things, if somebody has their 11th chimney fire in a year and the people feel that that should be part of the ordinance that they get a bill, then it's okay, but
yep, Yeah, because we definitely want community involvement, but I don't want to just,
Mhm.
you know,
That way, if the community says, no, we don't want you to do anything until it's an ordinance
right?
proposed to the town, then we won't do anything. And if people say, yep, give this
Yep.
policy a try, then we would do that.
Yes, Adam?
No, okay, there's so much to say about it. Yeah, and ideally, I mean, but it all comes down to, it's the community's call, but I mean, we're just trying to help decrease the cost of the budget.
Sure.
I mean, this last 3 weeks, I don't know what the fire department has got, taken out of our budget, just in vehicle maintenance. But I can tell you, it hasn't been cheap. We do have a aging fleet. I think any little bit would help, so I just urge everybody that, anyone that's listening and that's here, it's make it work for us, but it's nothing that we should shy away from. I think, no, we don't want to do the chimney fires forever. I think we really should push toward this, because everything is, as we know, is costing a lot more, especially with what's going on around the little house.
Right, yeah, cost recovery is important, and that's why a lot of towns are doing it. I mean, it's not unusual these days. Is that the way we want to go, is have some sort of public hearing with
Before I make a motion, can you just tell me what the schedule is for our next meetings? Sorry, don't be.
The schedule, 2 weeks and then 2 weeks after that. You've got a meeting on the 15th with a public hearing before that, and then you have 1 week off, and then the November meeting got moved to the 29th. So, yeah, gives you right 2 weeks, then 2 weeks.
So at the November 29th meeting, do we have any, I'm sorry, October 29th? Do we have any specific thing scheduled? I don't have anything.
I don't think there's anything additional.
The only thing I can think of is next week we have our school meeting
right.
in summer.
Summer called me and asked me what date they scheduled that for, and I said, I don't remember setting a date.
Thank you, Azalea.
It's the
You should have
8th.
asked Azalea. Yeah. The 8th, so you said the 29th,
We do have the 29th,
and then what's after the 29th?
that would be the 19th of November.
So I'd like to make a motion that we bring a draft policy to the, say it again, November 19th select board hearing. Select board meeting. And encourage the community to get their share of their input before that or at that meeting.
Yeah,
You could discuss that draft at that time.
I'll second.
discussion. Yeah, because they could email us anything, just give us some ideas of what they would like to see in there, because aside from coming to the meeting so that we can put it all together. We have plenty of examples to work with, so.
So if anybody has any questions in town, don't hesitate to send Cam also a message, and I'll answer the best I can. If I can't answer it, I'll send it to Bill and I'll get the information if anybody has it. That can't make it to the meeting.
Yep.
And I'll reach out to some communities who have passed this or enacted a policy or ordinance and ask them how they have felt about it as well.
Jasmine?
Is there any way for the residents to get a copy of that? Let me say, that's whatever you're looking at, just
Their policies.
their policies, is there a way to?
I have it scanned. It was in the packet that was loaded for last week, but I can put it back up.
So when you were talking about policy, was that Howland?
Yeah,
Howland, I can just Google them.
Yeah,
yeah, it's the first thing that comes up, you do Howland fire billing policies.
Okay. And then put
The piece that you put up, was that
yeah.
the entirety of it? Or did they include other things as well?
Well, they define each one of those, and then it's only 4 pages long. But I can, again, I can do a scan of
But
all.
we're not,
And this is
at
the
this
only,
point, we're not proposing that we do all of that. So I wouldn't
This is
say
just
we need
enough.
to read somebody else's policy and think
Mhm.
that's.
But definitely read other people's policies and see if you see things that you like and would like to see in this town as well.
I just wanted to start with the same base of information that you guys started with.
Of course.
Mhm.
Come on in. And see, are you done discussion?
No.
More years, I'll wait.
any further discussion? Yes, Martha?
Thing, I'll say it. And, I get what you're doing, revenue for the town is fantastic. But again, a reminder, policies are not enforced. Your insurance company can tell you to go pound sand. If you try to do it to the public, they're gonna tell you to go pound sand. My insurance does not have fire service built into it. That's gonna be a problem. You're never gonna be able to recover from me. And it's not fair to the other people that may have it in there. If you're gonna go after it, it needs to be an ordinance. Ordinances are enforceable. You're able to look at those fees every single year with that, and they are something that you can go after.
Mhm.
The Howland one is the only policy out there, when you do look and you hit them. It's ordinance after ordinance after ordinance, the town has to okay this, not the select board. Policies change board by board by board, if you put a policy in place, the next 5 or the next 3, you could say, you know what? I don't like it anymore, I'm done, and he loses his revenue. And that'll suck for our budget.
Right, and that's why we were having the public hearing, so that we could head toward the, is look at the policy or move, we definitely, I think.
And
we'll head toward the ordinance.
waste time putting a temporary policy in when we all know full well it's gonna have to be an ordinance.
Mhm.
That you're taking time, money and energy to me away from other things that we should be doing for this town.
Mhm.
I think the right idea is what you said. Are we looking at putting this on the June budget ballot? And if we are, then get it written correctly, get it written, get the publicity out there, let the town know, understand why we're doing it. So that they want to have this for the revenue for the fire department, because if they don't understand it. And they think that it's more money being taken away from them, they're not gonna give it to the fire department.
Right.
The ordinance will fail. So a policy is no good, an ordinance is the only way to go, and we have to make sure that we educate our taxpayers on why we're doing it, so that consistently can pass. That's my consensus.
Thank you.
Now, like I said, Bill's here for this reason, how are towns using policies and are they collecting? Yes, and yeah, it's where she's right there, a lot more use ordinances. Yeah, well, Vassalboro, China,
That's
there are policies, those are policies.
Yep.
And customers,
In the ordinance.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean. And I'm like, don't have my list of.
Right.
But it is more of an ordinance, but there are several towns that are using policy and getting paid. But a lot of them are ordinances, is the way to go. And then another thing Bill had informed me about is say we decide to go with this in June and we don't have we have a policy, but nobody decides to pay because they don't have to pay, it's just a policy. We can now retro back a certain time to get money back and we'll recoup the money anyways. So, or hopefully recoup it. So, and I agree, I think the ordinance is the way to go.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see some information, see if we can get things rolling and who's going to pay and who's not going to pay. And like, Martha said, maybe you're gonna say, screw it, there's a policy, I'm not gonna pay it, but then you're gonna have, as Bill said, well, insurance companies paying it, so.
Yep. Okay. Any further discussion? No, so the motion on the floor was to have a public hearing on,
No, there's no.
No public hearing, just that
Oh,
on
great.
on November 19th, we will have a drafted policy to discuss
Okay.
with ourselves in the town.
gotcha. So we just want input at that meeting based on what we draft. So that seems pretty reasonable to me. Yes,
Is that October or November?
November 9th. Oh, yeah, that's what I wrote down. And that was seconded. Discussion.
Seconded, right.
All right, so all those in favor, Bob, aye.
Bye.
Sandra, I.
Thank you, everyone. All right. Consent agenda.
Alright. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank
to
you.
come here. We really appreciate it.
We'll just tell me.
I was expecting.
Did you say?
Should say we're.
I did.
Agenda.
We go motion for the December.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Discussion. All right, all those in favor, Bob, aye.
Sandra, I.
Peter, right?
And that's the correct total there. For $217,489.29. Approval of the minutes from September 23rd, 2024.
I sent those to you, but I forgot to put them in the packet, sorry.
That's okay. I didn't see them and I didn't see any issues.
I move that we approve the minutes. The September 23rd, 2024 meeting. Was written.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, Bob, aye.
Peter, right?
Sandra, I.
Thank you. And we have all kinds of planning board appointments, which is fantastic.
We need to do 4 separate motions.
Uh,
I think we're all 1 year.
No.
looks like Michelle's was kind of up in the air.
So.
Michelle, you want 1, 2 years.
I printed those off in the package just so you can see how the terms.
Yeah. Like when Tammy seats and there's empty, you put me back. No, should nobody there.
Understanding of the ordinance is that the initial appointment's based off what they want and what you have. And then after that, there's subsequent 3-year terms, but that here's one person right now.
Right, you get them going and then it's, yeah. I remember that house.
That's why I'm still checks out 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Please.
All right. Do we have to do them separately or can we do it all together?
Read.
Well, 3 of them are for the same channel. So, I mean, unless you do Michelle as a 1 year as well, then I guess you could do it all, unless you want one really long motion.
I want to 1 year. I'm here.
1 year, yeah.
Did have a question, not that it will impact our decision tonight, but it also kind of applies to the select board, like, what happens if one of us drops from the board and then there is people living in the same domicile and they can now form a quorum together? What happens in this instance?
Good question.
Have to resign.
Yeah, there's statute around that. I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, because they, yeah,
Yeah, I figured, I was just.
Right.
I don't know, I never researched it.
Let's talk about because those 2 married.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're at least living in the same.
But you'd have to lose 2 members in order for them to have a quorum. And there's nothing saying that people can't be together, they just cannot talk about planning board stuff, just like the select board, when there was 3, if you know, at any given time, you can still,
Hang out and talk.
right, you just can't talk about stuff that could be construed as a public meeting.
Hmm.
Is there there is another person on
Mhm.
the board also, right?
Yeah.
So we could do them all for 1 year. Everybody's all right. Yes, Viv?
Composition of the term, is the planning board ordinance. The term of each member or alternate shall be 3 years, except for initial appointment, which will be for 1, 2, or 3 years. The term shall be determined by the select board after considering the desired term requested by the individual seeking appointment and the terms of any current member.
So that's comes down
There's
to
only one because
somebody there, yeah.
Yeah,
because the
Yeah.
initial appointment.
But it's what you want, is what.
Yeah, that's fine. I can always fill out another application.
I'd like, are we doing this whole thing?
yes.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we appoint Michelle Casey. Vivian Modis, Aaron Petroselli, and Jeremy Petroselli to the planning board, each for a 1-year term.
I will second.
Any discussion? Other than it's awesome? All right, all in favor, Bob, aye?
Then I.
Sandra, aye.
Say, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, we
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Next meeting still.
Other people. But you still need.
What'd you say? Is there?
Just need an alternate.
We need an alternate.
Next meeting is scheduled for the 23rd.
Getting notified the others.
Yeah.
And so.
All right, other business. Anyone have any other business? Yes, Cam.
I put this in your packet. I just want to put it out there because we did receive the. Proposed 2025 state valuation. And I know you discussed it in meetings and I've made speculations, but. I was estimating that when the state came out with their new projections, we would be somewhere in the $230 million range and Buckfield came in at 227 million. Hartford went up 50 million though, so that was a lot more than we jumped, so. But it's still climbing on their end, because again, they're 2 years behind on all their data, right? Because they're looking 2 years back.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to share that. And the database is loaded and we're working through it right now. Manny's check going account by account.
Yes.
So the community member were to ask me when it'd be the time to start coming in to look at property cards, what date should I give them?
And as soon as Patriot figures out how to. Make it so we can print property cards. I can look at them on the computer and we're still learning how to use the software. So if
Okay.
a bunch of people just come in here and start wanting to look at information. We're just gonna look like fools trying to jumble our way through it. So
That's-
give us. A week or so before they start
Okay,
coming in and wanting to look at stuff.
we plan to post that once.
When I'm ready to have.
To print. To be able to print cards to give to people. We're not saying that. People cannot access that information. Not withholding information, but. We appreciate it if people could wait until it was posted that we can print out cards. For individuals, thank you.
Any other business? Yes.
Got a question, actually. We're gonna revert back to billing that we were talking about.
Mhm.
I received some information from a credible source. I'd like to maybe not go for a policy
Mhm.
and maybe we should work on ordinances.
Mhm.
And if we have to wait till the town meeting to do it, when we gotta do it. Thinking about it, policy might not be the best of ideas. And I'm just gonna recommend saying, let's not do a policy unless, if we're gonna do it, let's just go for the ordinance.
Okay.
Right, from,
So I'm not sure we have to rectify anything with that because we could still have the
We can
meeting
still-
and work toward it at that
Yes.
meeting. With the, just like as we planned previously. So, and that works for me.
Yeah.
kind of an unofficial works for me, but it's for everybody else, yeah, all right. We'll see. Okay. Thank you.
Did a lot of work in research. And what did I do? Yeah. Sure. It's not, it's, it's.
Now moving on to public comments. Anyone have any public comment? One online? No,
Negative.
no,
Neil shake his chest.
no, all right. Andre? There's no need for executive session that I'm aware of. There is?
Yeah, Nielsen's right there.
Oh, there is? All right. So we are gonna have executive session, I think, provided everybody votes yes. Cool, I'll make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to 1 MSRA subsection 4056F and 36 MRSA subsection 841-2 to consider property abatement application number 2023-2024 9.2.24.
And we'll second.
All those, oh, whatever. Yeah, all those in favor, bye-bye.
Cecilia, aye.
Peter,
Thank you. We'll come back in and then close out the meeting if anybody wants to stick around.
Thank you.
You good to go?
All right. We're out of executive session. And I'll make a motion in reference to property abatement application number 2023-2024 9.2.24 that we deny.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Bob, aye.
Sally, I.
Peter, I.
Sandra, I.
All right. Unless anyone has anything else, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
The time. Oh, yes, time is 7:54 PM.
So, your eyes can
Thank you. I didn't get to anything.
Yeah.